This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
But when we were talking, Mr. Hills and Dr. Moz, you can feel free to jump on in. I had asked Mr. Doherty a question just about kind of the deterioration of things when it comes to people in uniform that, and he touched on it, and I believe you were here for his testimony, in terms of the degree of respect, and I understood you wanted to weigh in. So the time is now if you want to weigh in on that issue.
I appreciate that. Thanks so much. I think it's pretty simple from what I've been seeing in my career since even prior to COVID, during COVID, and afterwards. Society as a whole has lost a piece of kindness. We stop being kind to each other. When I walk into someone's home, even just everyday Joe Blow, there's just a level of understanding and lack of respect for the work that we do. And sometimes we're just treated poorly and blaming the system on us rather than understanding what we're bringing to the table, being there to help them, being there to care for them. And then you take it to the extreme of they're gang members. Other people never used to really strike out at us, but now the amount of verbal abuse, the amount of threats, people banging on our ambulances, it's just, there's a lack of respect and kindness really for people helping anyone. And even in the hospital system as well, people screaming at nurses when they walk into the triage area, people screaming at doctors. It just, we've allowed it to be okay to harm each other rather than just respecting and being kind to each other. And that's all I kind of really wanted to touch on. I don't know how to fix it, but it's just, I think calling a spade is, we're just not as nice to each other as we actually could be.
Thank you. Dr. Moz, do you have anything to add, or I can move on to the next question?
We could all benefit from a little bit more kindness. I would say that when my team reviews the violence reports, the things that my colleagues are describing and using quotes shock the mind. Utterly reprehensible in many cases, and it troubles me deeply.
Well, see, and that's where my next question goes, and I apologize if this is a bit of a technical question, but it's something that's really lingering, and it's this idea of reporting and charging. My question is this: is the issue, from your perspective, one that people who are subject to threats in your industry, do they just kind of say, you know, I've been told it comes with the territory, I've been told nothing's going to happen, so I don't report it? Or is it reported and nothing happens?
I think it's a combination of a few different things, and I'm sure my colleague would echo these sentiments. When we've talked to people that work as paramedics in the region of Peel, we've asked them exactly this question. They tell us a few things. First, that the violence that they're experiencing is so widespread that it fades into the background as another chronic stressor, particularly when we're talking about abusive comments. And they tell me that the people who are perpetrating these acts of verbal abuse, very often there's no consequences for them, and it becomes perceived as being unpreventable. And if you take this series of things, widespread and chronic, without consequence, and being perceived as unpreventable, to its logical conclusion, this expectancy of people to be able to just brush off and move on from acts of violence as necessary to function in the work just becomes part of the job. That's what we see empirically, and I'm sure my colleague would echo some of these sentiments.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my lived experience, I've been called some of the nastiest things, and it just, you know, I've been pushed, I've been shoved, but there's a big difference between me at 6'3", 250 versus another paramedic whose first day on the job. My niece just started in the profession. You know, her experiencing that now today versus me sort of like the frog in boiling water over 25 years, kind of, you know, creating a thicker skin is a lot different. So, you know, her longevity in a career might not last because she's facing these horrific statements and acts of violence on a much higher rate right now. And yeah, you just get used to it. You know, me getting pushed is a lot different than, again, somebody else getting pushed. So my tolerance level is there based on experience and based on, you know, physical presence. But that still doesn't make it okay. It just, like you pointed out, it's a tolerance. And unfortunately, that's just something that we're all starting to wear, and it's starting to wear very thin.
No, and I understand that. And even beyond the pushing, I mean, it's similar for correctional officers. They are verbally abused, and the attitude is, well, what are you going to do, put me in jail? That's not going to happen, right? But even beyond that, when it crosses the line into an assault or a threat, both of which are clear criminal offenses. I mean, to me, it seems as though the way to address this, at least in part, is to actually take action. Because if you don't take action, there will be no consequences, and it just perpetuates, right? And it perpetuates from the person committing the act, but it also perpetuates in the mind of the person who's the victim, as in, this just goes without saying. Can I get your comments on that, please?
If I may, I think it we have no faith in the system. To be respectful to the chair when he was talking about, do we trust the courts to do this? The courts right now have an opportunity to charge people that punch me or kick me in the face, stab me. They don't. So, I mean, this just adds a level of protection and a level of reasonability, and puts something in law that says a first responder, paramedic, firefighter will get their fair shake and fair protection in the courts. Because right now, they can be charged. They're just not. Prosecutors drop it. Police drop it. It's not taken seriously. We need something more than what exists.
I know we have 10 seconds. I encourage